All right, welcome to the after work video. I'm doing a new schedule with these videos. Sticking with the lunchtime video, that's definitely the most consistent video I put out there, but I definitely have trouble with the second video, especially with how different things are right now, starting a new job, um, the world going crazy, all that sort of stuff. So I think the best way I can solidify myself with the second video is just do it right after work. Even before work, I don't think it is going to work for me because I'm just not, I don't always consistently wake up at the exact same time. So work consistently ends at the same time. So this is the best time for me to make a video. So I don't think I uploaded my previous video yet. So I'll do that right now, just as part of this video. This is another thing I kind of wanted to do because I always kind of was in a strange situation where it's like, oh, well, when do I upload the video? Do I do it while I work? Do I do it in a break while I work? Like it was just kind of, it only took me like maybe a minute to do, but it was just kind of a strange situation to kind of think about when I would do it. So what I had been doing is just taking a break and uploading it, but I can upload it just during the start of the video to kind of warm up and get going. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So I can share my screen while I do that. It looks like the previous video I made that I just recently uploaded, I unfortunately shared the wrong screen. I don't know how that's possible because, oh, I bet you if sometimes I don't click right or I just hit share right away instead of clicking the screen 2. I guess what I can do is make screen 1, screen 2 in my display settings. So then I don't have to click extra. So I think I am going to see if I can do that. So, oh, actually I can't do that. I can't make screen 1, screen 2, because screen 1 is always going to be just my, just the screen, the laptop screen. Okay, so that's fine though. So now let's select the file. This is how I do it every time. I just select the file and then, yep, it uploads. So then I add all my information that I need to it. So I have that, of course, pre-prepared. So here it is. So yep, this was number 2. So assuming I haven't done this already, which I don't think I have, but we can verify it real quick because we can go to my channel and then we can go to videos. So my channel, videos, or sorry, let's go to playlists. Yeah, so there should be only one video for, oh, okay. So it looks like I actually did already upload that. That's funny because I don't remember doing that. So let's go back and look at the notes and make sure that I do only have notes for 2 videos. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so I forgot to increment this. So yep, sure enough, I've only got 2 videos on the channel, but I have made 3 videos so far, so I did not yet upload the 3rd video for this topic. All right, so let's do that. One thing I might want to do too is make these playlists per topic instead of per subtopic, but let me know in the comments what is best. unfortunately, I probably can't commit to going back and reordering them. I'll probably do that if I fail the test, just to kind of, because definitely if I fail the test, this is kind of going to be what really all I have to show for it. So I want to make this as nice as I can. All right, but until then, the plan A is to actually pass the damn thing. So let's see here. Now I need a description. There we go. So here's the description, which are my goals. So last video we saw area mismatches, and we saw how it affected the LSAs that show up in the database summary command. So this video we're going to be moving on to ISIS. Okay, so let's add the tags as well. Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's how I want to start these videos. From now on, just uploading the previous one, which of course takes away, I realize, the watch time. Yeah, I probably won't be able to add any skip ahead things either. So, but you can just skip ahead yourself. Hopefully that's not too much of an issue. So let's start the fourth video. So I can close, let's see here, what window do I want? I want this here. So I can probably even close, yep, I can close this whole thing. And okay, so yep, now I'm going to do a fourth video on the topic. There'll probably be at least one or two more. Okay, so, but now we're going to be working on ISIS area mismatches. Hopefully finish that by the end of the hour, because that's what my plan is for these videos, to study twice a day in 1 hour chunks, but realistically it comes out to actual like 45 minutes. So, but that's still an hour and a half of studying, 2 hours of time blocked off. So I think that's going to be plenty. I know when I talked about kind of my musical background before, and I know a lot of the kids that went on to actually be really successful, I don't think practiced more than 2, 3, 4 hours a day. So in fact, the most successful person I can think of, I think, stayed. Oh yeah, I think she had a study hall, so it was like a 2-hour block or something, and then she just went right to the music classroom, and they had actual special practice rooms there, and just as part of the infrastructure of the school. So I think she just spent a study hall practicing. So that's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And this person went to the most selective music school in the United States, if not the world, just by using that time very effectively. So I think I am good to go. And if I pass this test, I don't think it'll be that level of achievement. So hopefully it does not require that level of effort. All right, so let's keep moving on. We've got, okay, ISIS area mismatches. So we're going to have to change the lab from OSPF version 3 to ISIS. That's not too difficult. We'll need to bring up the port again, I believe. Yeah, and let's not worry about doing it from guest 1 this time again, because I've already went over that. You can go back and watch those videos. I forget which one they were in, but I just want to move through this pretty quick because I think I've got a good sense of what's going on. And I'm only allowing myself to go until 6 o'clock because that's a good strategy for practicing is don't give yourself all day. Don't say, oh, well, you know, I can study after work. It's like, well, you know, I have a good 5 hours after work. Like, when am I going to study during those 5 hours? You know, the better way to say it is, I'm going to study for an hour directly after work, because then you can't ever say, oh, well, I'll just study later. I'll just study later. Oh, it's not time to study yet. When's it, you know, you really got to nail down that time and be really specific with when you're going to do something. And you've got to take advantage of a cue to do that thing, so you don't have to make the decision to no longer do something that you enjoy far more than the task you had planned. All right, so let's do a show configuration, pipe display set, pipe no more. So yeah, so we're going to be getting rid of the OSPF configuration on all of these devices, so router 3 and router 4, and then we're going to be replacing it with ISAS configuration. Somebody is cooking something and it smells delicious. Oh, are they grilling? No. Kind of surprised I can even smell that. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, I'm going to put these on to help me focus a bit, and then I can put my air filter up a bit higher. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So yeah, I'm having trouble focusing, but I think it's better to kind of have trouble focusing and have a session that is a little bit suboptimal than to not have a session at all. And you know, I'm not doing too bad at focusing. I'm in the lab. I uploaded my last video. Things are going pretty darn well. Especially since, you know, as I've mentioned many times before, this zigzag is no longer a good idea. It's just I'm really bad at the sunk cost fallacy. So it's like, you know, I probably shouldn't do this. I shouldn't, you know, spend my own money on this. When I was originally studying for it, I had an employer that would pay for it. You know, my current job, I guess I could ask, but I'd be really surprised. So it's kind of not something I had really planned that my current employer would pick up. So, I mean, I guess I could ask, but it just seems really unlikely. And then it kind of, I had already kind of planned for it to come out of my own expenses anyways. All right, so we've got OSPF stripped off, so we can do a show protocol. I'm going to change that host name back just because that's kind of distracting and annoying. So set system host name R1. Yeah. And the reason it's like that is because netconf was on the test, so I used netconf to change the host name. But that's a previous video. I think it's labeled right, so you'll be able to find that. Let's see here. Show. let's see here. So now, ISIS. Oh, and it's got to go on the logical unit. You can't configure a family on a physical unit, only on a logical unit. It's going to be family ISO. All right, so it's going to go on all of the ports that are currently up. All right, and then the loopback interface is going to get a special NET address, network entity title, for ISIS. So it's going to get extra configuration, family ISO address, and then the format is 49.the_area. So when we learn about the area mismatch, we'll be changing those. And we already saw one before by accident, an area mismatch, but we will do it on purpose now. I don't think that accident was enough to move on from this topic. Okay, and then the NET always ends with .00. So you've got this portion. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 portions to an NET. You've got 49, the area, whatever it is. So this is essentially a static portion. It's never going to be anything but 49. This will be dependent on what you want the area to be. This will be used as a unique identifier for the device. So you can't have this match across devices. We can try setting that and see how that changes. And then this, just like the 49, is the same. It's a static value. It's always going to be .00. Okay, so there's one final step to enabling ISIS, and that's to configure the actual protocol. And all that's required there is to add the interfaces to the protocol. And then anything, just like OSPF, where you want to include the you want other devices to be able to get to that network, but you don't need the updates to go through that network. You can just make those passive. And then just like OSPF and anything here, you can configure it for the physical interface instead of the logical unit. Of course, if you do have VLANs and you need it, like for example, you need logical unit 10 to have OSPF, but logical unit 20 not to, or logical 20 unit 20 to have ISIS, then you will need to specify it. But since we don't have VLAN tagging enabled anyway, it's only got one option, so you don't need to specify which option to use. All right, so everything looks pretty much good to go. Yeah, we already deleted the OSPF configs. We don't have any minuses. We've just got some pluses. It looks like we've got an extra plus here for interface 3, but we don't have anything for interface 0. So it looks like I did make a mistake here. So I'm going to do a run, show int descriptions, and just do a sanity check. Oh, okay. Yep. So there is no interface 3. So let's do a delete interface 003 and do a show pipe compare again. And yep. So that looks a bit more normal. We don't have an extra interface being added, but we do have an interface here, 000, that does not have family ISO enabled on it. So let's do that. Okay, so now everything looks a lot more normal. All our interfaces here that we're adding to the ISIS protocol are now configured with family ISO. We've got a proper NET identifier, network entity title, on our loopback address, and we've made the interfaces that are not connected to other routing devices passive. All right, so we've got 3 more routers to configure, so let's do that. Yeah, I kind of prefer OSPF as far as configuration goes, just because I like how it's, you don't have to configure the family ISO. Like, and now let's remember here. So the reason you have to configure family ISO, ISIS, and you don't have to configure something special for OSPF, why don't you have to figure family OSP or family SPF on OSP or on OSPF? Well, in a way you are, just as in ISIS, you need to go on the configuration and you need to set up family ISO. You've got to do the same thing in OSPF, but you're not setting up family ISO. OSPF runs on IP protocol. So you do have to do 2 steps as you do in OSPF. You've got to, sorry, in ISIS, you've got to add the interfaces to the ISIS protocol when you configure ISIS, and you have to enable family ISO on the interfaces when you enable ISIS. But the reason you need to enable family ISO is because that's the protocol that ISIS uses to communicate with its neighbors. OSPF uses IP, so you still need that second step after you add the interfaces to the OSPF protocol. But since it's IP, it's usually already completed for you because it's a prerequisite to even access the device if you're using in-band management. So yeah, hopefully that kind of helped some gears click, though, because you might think, oh, well, it seems like ISIS is needlessly burdensome because it requires extra configuration that OSPF does not. Well, you'd be wrong in saying that because OSPF also requires that configuration. It's just it requires that configuration for IP protocol family, or sorry, for INET family instead of ISO family, and that's not already, and that's usually already set up. So they both require the same amount of configuration. It's just the configuration required by OSPF is more common than the configuration required by ISIS. And the configuration required by OSPF is more widely shared amongst other types of functions or mechanisms. IP protocol is I mean, it's the TCP IP stack. It's not the TCP ISO stack. So, but ISO has a lot of advantages, as we saw before. It works seamlessly with IPv6 because it's just your routing statements are not using IP protocol. So with old gear, with IPv4 to IPv6 transitions, that family ISO can make things a lot easier. And it's kind of a mix between, it's kind of not quite layer 3 too. It works on like layer 2.5, so it makes things a bit easier. Okay, so for some reason I can't delete OSPF on here. That's interesting. So router 2 never had OSPF configured on here. Huh. Which is really interesting because I thought I saw it. I thought I saw these addresses showing up in the routing table. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But I mean, it's good news. We got fewer steps to setting up ISAS. Oops, so I missed a step. I've got to set up the address. So I like to follow along with what is on the loopback interface as far as the family INET address is concerned. So I like to model it after the family INET address in order to set up the family ISO NET network entity title. One thing you see that's really weird is because I like to just pad it with leading zeros, but you often don't see that. And I think the reason you don't see that, and it's really kind of strange sometimes, is because you can't, like I'm using an extended NET, and on some systems you can't have that many values in this section of the NET. So this is kind of, yeah, so this is a valid NET as well, even though it's missing a section that I had in the other one. In fact, this is the one that's more likely to be invalid because it has extra characters, but most implementations of ISIS that are modern on newer gear will allow for that. But you could see if this was 172.16.16.2, you know, and I'm only using the regular version of the NET, where would that 16 go? So that's kind of why it looks strange sometimes to me in other implementations. Okay, let's do a show pipe compare. So, oops, now I've got two of them on there though, because I'm using a regular and extended NET. So let's get rid of that regular NET. Okay, so now we've got the regular, or sorry, just the extended NET on there. So we've got one final step, and that is to add the interfaces to the ISAS protocol. If we were configuring OSPF again, this would be the only step, but technically that's because we will have already finished the equivalent of this step just by nature of having, well, in this case, we're out of band, we're through console, but if we had in band, we would have already finished this step here, just by nature of having the access. But in OSPF, these would be family INETs, and you wouldn't necessarily have to configure them. OSPF, since it's a unique family that's not commonly used, this is often a step that you will need to include along with your final step, which is just adding the interfaces to the protocol itself. Okay, so everything is good to go on this one. We've just got 2 more to go. And at this point, we should see an adjacency form between R1 and R2. And we should see an adjacency on both level 1 and level 2. So we're actually going to have 2 ISS adjacencies. Yep. And we've got one adjacency over R1. We've got another adjacency over R2. So one thing that's interesting too is that we've got the system here. So I think when you include more than this, the identifier is still here, but I think you just get an extra value for the area. So if I remember correctly, so let's look at some of these commands and try to figure out what the area is. Ah, here we go. Yeah. So we can see the area ID has that 0172. So these are actually in area 49.000.0172 instead of, as I had thought them to be, in area 000. So 49 is part of the area as well. So all right, but I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. It's just kind of different how I expected. So that's really good to know, because if I were to go into the test expecting it to be one way, it would not be that way. So let's go to router 3. Oh, router 3 doesn't have a IGP configured either, which is interesting. Okay, so let's set protocols ISIS. Or, well, before we do that, let's enable family ISO. There we go. Okay, and then this is going to need an address. So let's do a show interfaces so we know what to use. And as I said before, unfortunately, I kind of made a mistake in what I believed to be the sections of the NET. So where I had been intending to configure area 0 for these ISIS configurations, I had been configuring 0172 for the area. But we can keep that convention. It's not a big deal. I can, yeah, yep, so this is going to be the area portion, and the next portion is going to be a unique identifier for this device within that area. Okay, and then this is the final portion, which is a required ending portion. Oops, and I forgot the word address. All right, so commit and quit. Perfect. So hopefully we've got adjacencies on here now. Now I have a feeling we won't because oh right. So I never configured the actual ports. So edit. Oh, we can just do a set. Protocols ISIS interface 0, 1, 2, L0. Oops, not L9. So let's do delete. And then 0. Okay, so now ISIS is going to be running. But we might be, okay, so All right, so we got one more left. So let's actually do a monitor stop on the OSPF trace logs. And then let's do a configure private, edit protocols, IGP, and let's set up the trace options and have them monitor as we're setting this up. Yeah, we'll just get all the flags. Yeah, and I can always see which files are available to me by tabbing it out. So on the test, it's really going to be essential that I use this often. Okay, so let's do a show configuration, have display set, see what's on here already. So we've got a few interfaces that are disabled. Looks like we don't have an IGP on here either, which is strange. But let's do a show in descriptions and see which ones are disabled. So 0 and 1 are disabled. So let's delete disable on those. Let's delete the fact that they are down. Okay, and now let's do that for 1 as well. Perfect. Oh, and it looks like we do have some messages for IGP right now, which is interesting because I don't have anything enabled for IGP yet. So it looks like we've got like a system timer or something internal. The IGP daemon is actually running, but we don't. Yeah, this is really interesting that there's a lot of information for IGP because I did not yet enable anything, but it's getting all sorts of information. I'm almost tempted to do, let's do a show IGP adjacency. Got nothing, so let's do a show IGP, and then how about database? So we do have a database right now, but there's just nothing in the database. So even though there's no configuration for IGP, we're getting statistics, we're getting a database, we're getting OSPF, SPF runs, so it actually is running the algorithm right now, but it's just, there's nothing to run the algorithm on. So it's interesting kind of how much is just internal to the device even before you've got your final configuration on. It's interesting how much computation is already running. Okay, so let's go ahead and have it work for real. So set not fabric, set interface 000.0 family ISO. One, two, okay, so show interfaces LO0, set 0, family ISO, address. Perfect. Oh, I missed the 0. Aha, so now we're good to go. Let's do a set protocols IGP interface. Perfect. So this is all we're gonna need. I guess I'm surprised that there's no family ISO on those other interfaces. Maybe they already had it. I did print out a show run. Nope. So I think I'm gonna just add those again. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that looks a lot better. So we're going to have the screen explode now with a lot of messages. I don't think we have IPv4 set up in the network, just IPv6, but it works seamlessly with ISAS because it's using family ISO to exchange messages and not IP protocol, not family INET or family INET 6, as OSPF version 3 would be using in this case. Sweet, so it's adding reachability neighbor. Things look like they're going good. All right, let's look at the adjacency on router 1. We should have 3 of them. Well, and by 3 I mean 6. We should have 3 per level. We've got 2 levels, so we're going to have 6. Still getting lots of messages showing up. Okay, so now let's go on router 1. Let's change the area for the NET, and let's see what messages we get on router 4. So edit interfaces LO0, .0, family ISO, show pipe display set relative. Okay, so now let's delete this address. Okay, so now let's set this to something that's obviously incorrect, 173. And before I commit this, I'll see if things are still going. Yeah, things are there's a lot of chatter on here, which is a little bit unfortunate. Let's wait until the chatter starts up again before hitting commit. Here it is. Okay, so let's hit commit and take a look at the chatter. Looking for anything like mismatch, something like that. Area mismatch. And we can, of course, do a match for mismatch on the file. Of course, we might need to go back and look at the other zip logs. Here we go. So it looks like there's information here that could have to do with this. All right, let's do a monitor stop. Well, before we do a monitor stop, let's do a show ISIS adjacency. Okay, so we still have the adjacency to router 1, but we've just got we've got all of our level 1 adjacencies are now down, but we still have the adjacency. All right, let's see if we got any information about a mismatch. Or an area, anything like that. Okay, I don't see anything, so let's look through the whole file. Here we go. So we got an area and we've got an error message. So I like that about these for ISIS. We didn't have this error tag for OSPF in the trace logs, but it looks like we've got one for ISIS. So really clear. IIH, so remember what that stands for from the reading. It stands for ISIS hello. So it received a hello from router 1 with no matching areas. So there's an area mismatch. This is how it shows up in the trace logs of ISIS. Okay, so yeah, so that looks good. Let's now configure a level mismatch. So let's first of all fix that area mismatch. Before I do a commit, I'll do a monitor start again on that file. Okay, and then I'll do a commit so that mismatch is now fixed. And hopefully we'll see. I'll do a monitor stop now because I think that's everything that needs to be updated. Okay, and now I'll do a, nope, we don't got any errors anymore. Let's do area. So, yep, we've got multi-area post-processing complete, so don't have any error messages associated with the area that we did before. So on the test, it'll be really clear to see if there are any issues with the area not matching. So let's do, so before we do anything else, let's look at the ISIS adjacency again. Yep, and now we can see that all of our level 1 adjacencies are now up because the areas match. You can only have a level 1 adjacency in matching areas across mismatched errors. That's why you need a level 2 adjacency to form an adjacency across areas that don't match is why you need that. So, and it's also recommended when you have level 2 adjacencies, or when you have an adjacency across a mismatched area, which means you have a level 2 adjacency, there's no other way to do it. It is recommended to disable level 1, and it's going to be down anyway. So, okay, but let's try a level mismatch now. Hopefully, I can do this in 5 minutes too. I can go a little over. It's not a big deal for the after work video, but it's just I just don't want to get worn out, of course. Okay, so let's do a let's see here. So we're going to be disabling our level 1 adjacency on router 1, because remember from before you could have an ISIS level 1 router, level 2 router, or level 1 and level 2 router. So right now this is set up as a level 1 and level 2 router. It's going to form adjacencies across both levels. But let's set this up to purely be a level 2 router. And then we'll set the other side to purely be a level 1 router and look at what kind of error messages we get. So edit protocols ISIS, set interface 00. I forget which one it is, but let's just do a question mark to figure out which command is necessary. Here we go. So level. configure levels. So now you can specify, if you don't specify anything, it will use both, but you can say if you only wanted to use level 1 and level 2. So let's figure out which port goes to router 4. Okay, and it's router 1, so we're going to set interface 001, and it's going to be level. I will make this purely a level. Now we can make it either because they're the same areas. If they were different areas, we could only make it a level 2. But since they're the same area, we can make it a level 1 or a level 2. I think it's recommended to make it a level 1 if they're in the same area. Or actually, I don't know about that. But let's make it purely a level 2. Okay, so if we want to make it a purely level 2, we're going to need to do level 1 disable. Okay, so now if I do a show ISIS adjacency, oops. So it looks like the only thing we get is it's just down, even though it still has it. It's just listed as down. Okay, but that seems okay. Let's do a monitor start again, or let's do yeah. So let's look for errors, no errors. Let's look for level, nothing. So area maybe, just because, nope. All right, let's do a monitor start on this. Okay, so yep, now we've got everything. We are good to go. So let's see here. What do we want to do next? Yeah, let's go into config mode, and let's go into ISIS, and then let's disable level 1 on the link to router 1. So that's going to be G002. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Does it keep the adjacency over it? Now this is disabled on the other side, and it's not going to get those hello IIH packets. ISIS hello packets will be able to maintain the adjacency still. So nope, that it's not going to do it. But we see we do still have the level 2 adjacency because we did not disable it for that. We just no longer have a down connection for the level 1 because we're no longer getting hello packets on either side because it's disabled for both sides. So one final thing, let's now disable level 2 and only have level 1. And let's see if we can get some error messages showing up that'll be useful to notice during the test. Okay, so we're going to be disabling, and it's 000, I think. I don't even remember. I just looked at it. Let's just do it's 002. Okay, so we're going to do delete. So let's do a monitor stop. Okay, now show pipe display set relative. edit interface GE002.0, delete level 1 disable, and now we're going to set level 2 disable, and of course that's going to brick everything, we know, because we've got level 2 disabled on the, or sorry, we've got level 1 disabled on runner 1. So here we will have level 1 enabled, but level 2 disabled. So here we can see we have a valid level 2 connection, but we're going to disable level 2 on the other side and see what happens. So let's do a monitor run, monitor start, tshoot ISIS, and commit, and get some messages. Hopefully that's gives a clue as to what the issue is. Hopefully we'll see those error messages. So let's do a quick show adjacency. So it's still up, which is interesting. Let's do a pipe refresh 1 on that. So now it's already down. Aha, here I think we've got our messages. So let's do a monitor stop. Okay, and now let's do a match for error. Oh, nothing for error, so let's look for level. Nothing for level. So let's just go through and see what was here. Okay, so I don't see anything talking about an error or anything like that. So if there's a level mismatch, kind of on your own to detect that. I think that's going to be a bit more difficult to detect than other sorts of errors. But yeah, especially since you just plain won't see a. I mean that would be a good enough clue. There just won't be any sort of adjacency at all if there's a level mismatch. So okay, so I think that's the end of the video. Not particularly complex. So yeah, but it's good to be moving through it. I really don't have a ton of time. I've got about 3 months, so I want to be moving through these topics as soon as I can. So I'm really happy to say that I made it through both of these. Strike those out. So this is the final video in this section, so I can rename it to done. Okay, so the next section is going to be address issues. So we'll take a look at in OSPF, we'll take a look at what happens if you have incorrect addressing on the interfaces. And then in ISIS, we'll take a look at what happens when you have an incorrect ISO address. So that should be pretty fast. I might be able to even get 2 done in that. Or maybe just make 1 video on this, move on to afterward video, just 1 video for each of these topics. And then this one, of course, we've been doing the whole time, so there's really nothing extra to do for that. Regarding policy, I did get a comment on my one of my videos saying that the person needs help with layer 3 multicast VPNs. So I'll be moving on to that next. Oh, that's interesting. I don't see it on here. I thought it was on. Huh. I thought it was on the test. I know it's on the JNO, but I thought it was also, or sorry, the 960. But I thought it was also on the 961. So here it is on the 960. Huh. Oh, well, I guess that's kind of bad news, but I'll just move on to the VPNs category first out of order anyway, because it's not going to have multicast VPNs, unfortunately, but it might, whatever the commenter needed, it might be brought up there anyways. And then, of course, you can see the methods I'm using. So if you want to learn about MVPN, just use similar methods through Google searches, through oh, this is interesting. So it actually looks like it's not multi-home VPN, it's multicast VPN. So let's see if this is, here we go. So NGMVPN, okay. Yeah, so it looks like it's actually a part of the multicast section. So, yeah, not the L3 VPN section. So yeah, I think I'll be moving on to multicast next, because I think this is what the commenter was saying. So let me actually. Oh yeah, and he wants eVPN as well. So VPN's in high demand. So I think I'll be. Yeah, I think I'll just be doing VPN next. I think we was talking about with the multicast, or with MVPN. I think that's actually multicast VPN and not multi-homed VPN. But yeah, I think I'll do VPNs next, then multicast afterward, and then I'll probably do BGP last, just because I'm really, I think, comfortable with that. MPLS is going to be a huge one, so I'll probably do that afterwards. And QoS I'm pretty comfortable with as well. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.